one is passwords in particular. Okay, so just make sure you remember your passwords. And this is very basic because I can't do all examples, right? But if it's a 4-digit password, all we're talking about is numbers. And so remember, all possible, it would just be 10 to the power of 4, right? You just fill in. I would strongly recommend use the fundamental counting principle. If we are not allowed repeats, you can go 10, 9, 8, 7 or 10, pick 4. Permutations, right, is handy here. Saves you some time. And of course, if you were allowed, if it just said characters and you're allowed letters as well, you would add it to this, right? So 10 plus 26 is 36. If it's case sensitive, you would add, right? You would go 26 times 2 is 52 plus 10 is 62. So it'll be 62 to the power of 4 and so forth. If special characters are allowed, you would obviously add that. So just read carefully. If it said even, right, no repeats, obviously we consider 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So there's 5 options. You fulfill this requirement first, then you go to the front. And remember, these are individual cases. There are 5 branches that you go off of. So you don't take 5 away from your total. You just say, okay, like if I were to put the 0 there, I'd be down to 9 here because I can't repeat, and then 8, 7. Right? So you're basically saying it's 9, 8, 7, 1, 5 times. That's why we put a 5 here. That's important. Next, starts with a 1 or a 2. Repeats allowed. So what if it's repeats allowed? So 1 or 2. So it's basically you're branching off into 2 different branches, right? First where the 1 is the starting number and then the 2. So it's just 2 and then 10, 10, 10 because you're allowed to repeat. What if it asks repeats allowed but not all 4 are the same? In this particular case, we're talking 0, 0, 0, 0, right? 1, 1, 1, 1, all of those. So from 0 to 10, so 0 to 9, that would be 10 passwords that we would have to subtract from our total, right? From our, that's basically 10,000 passwords, right? So we're down to 9,990. If it says at least one repeat is allowed, we go total, so 10,000 minus no repeats. Like that's a very classic one as well. So then you're left with all the ones that have at least one repeat. So that is your passwords wrap up here. I obviously could have way more, but that is just to review that and make sure this is just a number of ways. If it had said what's the probability of having at least one repeat, you would perform this calculation. That is your NA, that's your specific case. And underneath as your universal, you'd have the 10 to the power of 4, right? That's like all possible answers in this case. And then, of course, read carefully. If it says from the get-go that no repeats are allowed, then you go straight to that. This would actually be your universal. And then it would have to narrow it down even further if it's, right, any restriction that makes the total number of passwords that can be made that we're looking after a smaller number. Okay, so that is your passwords review.